We're inside the boat right now. And these muscles are grown on the inside. That is crazy. So today's the big day where I get to haul out the wood boat that I just brought home, that I just bought to turn into my crab stand. Right here, the Dora Lynn, Deltaville, Virginia built wooden dead rise. But this boat has not been hauled out in a very, very, very long time. I'm talking probably at least 3 or 4 years. And in the Chesapeake, that's a long time to not be hauled out. That means there is a lot of stuff growing on the bottom of this boat. Ferd from Germer House Marine here in Pasadena is headed over with this big hydraulic trailer. Since boats like this are too big to trailer, they have big giant trailers that have like all these hydraulic bunks. So they'll slide the trailer down the boat ramp. We'll pull the boat up the trailer. These hydraulic ramps, they'll move switches and lift these hydraulic bunks basically up to the bottom of the boat to fit the boat so that you can use the same trailer for all kinds of boats without having to adjust the bunks the hard way. There's risk involved in that, especially with a wood boat like this one. You can put one of those bunks right through the bottom of the boat, especially these old boats. So I know Ferd's a little nervous about doing it, but he's been hauling my boat since I was a kid. So he's used to my shenanigans. There's a timeline, because I cannot have this boat sitting up there on the hard forever, taking up all this room at the marina. The guy that owns the marina, who's a really good friend of mine, John, is kind enough to entertain and help me with most of my crazy ideas that I have. He's a like-minded crazy like me. He's gonna let me keep it here on the hard at his marina. If somebody refers to a boat being on the hard, it means that they're not in the water. It means that their boat is on land. Once we get the boat out, I have a lot of work ahead of me. The first step, scrape the bottom, and then I'm gonna have to power wash it while it's still wet, because if it dries up, it's 5 times harder to get off. Barnacles are really hard to get off of wood boats because they tend to ingrain themselves into the wood. I gotta take the floor up, the ceiling, and I gotta replace the whole ceiling with something else. Strip it down, see what we're working with, and then get to clean it. So this will be my very first time ever seeing this boat out of the water, so I'm curious to see what the bottom looks like. Not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. No, it's not as bad as I thought either. Look, the shoe is missing. Doesn't even have a rudder shoe on it. I guarantee they ran that boat for a couple years without a rudder shoe on it. Man, I couldn't be more pleased. It's not near as bad as I thought. It ain't good, but it ain't the worst I've seen. We ain't put a stand through the board, so that's good.
Creaking a lot. Yeah, so it's over here too. I don't like that. Can I head down a little more?
Is it the boat creaking or is it the barnacles crunching? It sounds like it's creaking. I guarantee that's the fanciest trailer this boat's ever been hauled out on. My favorite part is the trailer feet. The wheel ain't terrible. There's supposed to be a metal with a cup here that goes from there to the keel called the shoe. It stabilizes the rudder, and I promise you that's been missing for years, and they were probably working out of this thing with no rudder shoe on it, I'd imagine. Honestly, this thing does not draw any water at all. This would literally be the perfect boat for me. I just can't use a wood boat that's not glassed over. Easy to fall in love with, but would take a full-time crew to keep this thing floating and able. Yeah, she's old, but I love this boat. It's beautiful, classic lines. I know it looks bad now, but it's a diamond in the rough, I promise. So the way they build these dead rise boats, actually, let me refer you to an actual expert wooden boat builder, John Kellett. John, can you explain what makes a dead rise and how they build them?
It's the construction.
Oh, okay.
So the dead rise, unlike a lot of boats where the planks all go fore and aft, the dead rise switches from fore and aft up on the top side to cross planked on the bottom. So what you have in here is what they call the chine log inside this. And so all the bottom planks are attached to the chine log and then into a rabbet in the keel, and they're all going crossways, and they're just boards back there, but up here they're called the staving planks, and they have to have a twist in them. You see that this plane is not the same as this plane on that thing, so they have to carve that twist so that as you get closer to the bow, it gets more and more twisted and takes this shape. A lot of boats with steam planks when they need to twist or bend them, but these are twisted so much that it's easier just to carve them into it.
Don't they build them upside down and then they...
Sometimes they built them upside down. It's a little easier to work on the bottom building it upside down, but rolling it over is a little bit of a task.
All right, cue the satisfying time lapse of me scraping the bottom of this boat. That smells nice. There's like an entire ecosystem living on the bottom of this boat. All the things I'm knocking off right now are barnacles. I don't really know much about barnacles, but they grow on your boat when you don't paint it, and they're a pain to get off. They also have bloodworms living in the barnacles. These are the same ones they dig in Maine. They use for fishing bait here. They just don't get as big here for some reason, but they're living in and among the barnacles.
That's quite the camera setup you got there.
It's satisfying, you know? It's what the people want to see. Oh, my camera's covered. How's it coming on this side?
I'm almost done.
I'm actually fairly certain that if we were to put the boat back in the water after all the bottom was scraped, it would leak a lot worse. I'm very confident that barnacles were part of the thing holding this boat together. This bit right here is a radiator for the engine. It's called a keel cooler, but instead of a car radiator with air running over it, you just pump the coolant through these tubes that are corrugated, and then the water around the boat cools the engine coolant. I think she needs the power washer. Halftime. I'm a little covered in barnacles and whatever else, but I found something pretty cool here. On boats, they call the propeller a wheel. That's an oyster spat. That means a baby oyster. When oysters mate, they're on the bottom, and then they release the egg and the love nectar, and they meet, attach, and then they latch onto whatever the tide kind of pushes them onto. Typically, oysters grow best on oyster shells, but they will attach to pretty much anything. So this boat is from Kent Island. So the reason that's so funny to me is because in the upper bay where I'm at, we don't have any oysters just growing on anything. And that's mostly because the city of Baltimore is constantly dumping hundreds of millions of gallons of half-treated wastewater into the bay all the time, going completely unregulated, unchecked, and nobody will ever say anything about it or do anything about it. But that problem affects me, guys that work on the water, that are out there every single day, because of the wastewater and the Conowingo Dam, the two big giant issues that nobody will fix until somebody can get rich. We look really good by doing it. There's no oysters in the upper bay. I'm gonna scrape this little oyster off. We're gonna call him Terry. We're gonna put him in the boat ramp. Right. Terry is a live oyster spat. Put him in over here. We'll keep an eye on him. See if he survives. Right there. Well, upon further inspection, this boat has a lot of what we like to call in the industry permadirt, meaning the dirt is never going to come off no matter what you do. You could scrub this stuff with purple power and a toothbrush and steel wool, doesn't matter. Dirt ain't coming out. It also has a good amount of what I like to call structural dirt, which means it's dirt and paint and mud with structural integrity. It's helping to actually hold this boat together. And look at that. It's even sinking on dry land. Here's a little Eastern Shore trick. That's some of my finer work. That's just when you zip tie the wires right to the battery terminals. If you ain't using extension cords to wire your workboat, you ain't no crabber. That's actually making me have to pee. Well, after a few hours of power washing, the bottom is pretty much all clean. Thank the Lord. And I'm really glad they didn't do much prep work when they painted this thing, because pretty much all the paint blew right off, which is gonna be perfect. I got Total Boat hooking me up with some new paint for the whole build. There's the transom. Running gear. I mean, she's ready to go back in the water. We'll go crabbing tomorrow.
Do you need help?
Yeah.
I got it. Okay, let me know. You're doing great.
Whoops, sorry.
He tried to kill me, I'm just saying. I feel like every time I've worked here, I've almost gotten hurt a lot.
Impossible.
No,
We're extra safe
that's
around here.
crazy.
Safety always comes third here. You got some really nice stainless deck screws. I'm definitely snagging those out of there. A couple $100 worth of plywood. We're on a tight budget here. We have even less time. Workboats, you typically will have a console right behind the cabin. You'll have one somewhere stern so you can oyster and work and do stuff like that. Probably don't need this anymore. Look at all that square footage we got now. So when I was checking this thing out, I noticed there's a scum line. There's actually two, and that's from this boat sinking. I actually saw a picture of this boat sunk on Facebook from a while ago, but that is absolutely the scum line you get from a sunk boat. And it looks like it may have been down there a little while. We certainly got some bilge treasures. The bilge refers to the inside of the bottom of the boat. So that's where everything ends up, inevitably, in a boat. If you'll notice in this boat, very common with old dead rises, there's no guard, I don't know what they call that. There's usually a little piece of floor that goes up like this so things don't run into the bilge. This boat's actually designed to have things run right into the bilge. Water would just be pumped out. Check this crafty work out. You got extension cords using just regular house extension cords for wire. That's some amp wire from a car. This is house wire. There's a lot of nasty things. It looks like a peanut bag. All kinds of good stuff. And this boat, I know it had Detroit, but you can tell it had a Detroit in it because of all the oil that is in the bedding. Because if you got a Detroit and there's no oil under it, there ain't no oil in it. Not a big gloves guy myself, but to get into this bilge, this is not the scraper I was wanting, but it's the scraper I got. I spend half of my existence looking for tools that I literally just put down. Oh, wow, look at that. That is awesome. Decades of sludge. There's a radiator cap. Somebody had a bad day, dropped that down there probably 10 years ago. Got a bottle of Dawn. If you don't know what this is for, you definitely ain't no crabber. Oyster shells, oil rags I put in the bilge this morning. Oh my God. That's a window weight. It's a common hand tool around here. Oh, this is just a bucket of rocks. That's a rock. Oh, regret. Oh, wow. That's just, I'm not even gonna look any further into that. Framing square. Crabbers don't know how to use these. Ooh, that's a good piece of stainless right there. Piece of the boat that just decided to yeet itself off. Crab claw classic. Oh, that's a whole oyster. Ugh. Oh, there's lots of them. Oh. Ooh. We got a set of shades. Are these Costas? No, these are, look at that. It's a set of shades with a barnacle on the inside. Clam bags. Probably still got clams in them. This is what they use for trout lining. They'll put the bait in these bags and put the bag on the line. Then the crabs hold on to the bag, and that's how you catch them trout lining. Twine, probably for like a marker buoy if you're tonging. What is this? Ooh, treasure. This is a Cobelt control handle. I actually have Cobelt, so we're saving that. Wow. There's so much string in here. Some wire. Ought to start saving the wire. Scrap it. Make some of my money back on this investment. Oh my gosh. Oil pig mat. That's very old. This is your standard issue Eastern Shore bailing bucket. A hammer. Making our money back. Ugh. There's an oyster. I thought it was alive, but it's a box shell. That's pretty nasty. Lots of treasure in this bilge. There's so many oysters in the bilge of this thing, it's a hot lick down here. I'm gonna get the tongs, get them out of here. Ugh. Oh, I'm just getting started too. I'm finding all kinds of treasure. Here's a bilge hammer. There's probably some guy watching me do this that used to own this boat. It's like, oh yeah, I remember dropping those in the bilge in '86. I was going at this with gloves and a chisel. I just looked under the ceiling. I think this is gonna be a job that requires me to take up the entire ceiling and use a shovel. If you look down in there, I know you can't see much, but the entire boat is full of shell. This is gonna be a bigger job than I thought. I wanna be able to keep track of the floor ceiling pieces so I can use them as templates if I have to cut a new one. So I'm gonna spray paint and number, so when I pull them out, I know which ones go where. There's no freaking thing. Who the hell does that? Can't spray paint, no top. This is for your viewing pleasure, but my fact. I may need to use this video to go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's been a couple days since she's been on the hard, and you can see where water is leaking out of her and actually freezing up on the keel. So all those spots where water's coming out of the boat is where water was coming into the boat when she was in the water. No, I've seen what's in this bilge. My toxic trait is that the longer I look at this thing, the more I want to use it as an actual crab boat. How could you not want to go to work in that? That thing is pretty. I know it's a terrible idea, but that makes me want to do it even more. Fun fact, this little piece nailed to the bottom of the keel is called a worm board. And in the olden days, they would put this on, make it out of softer wood so that the wood-eating worms would eat this and not the keel. Then they could just replace this. It was almost like a sacrificial anode for wood. We're about to pull up the first section. I'm telling you, this thing has not been pulled up in, it looks like at least a decade. It is the nastiest bilge I have ever been a part of. I'm not kidding. Oh my gosh. Look at it. There's an oyster. Bunch of razor clam shells, like 3 inches of mud, clam bags, gloves, crab claws everywhere, chicken neck snoods. There's a mud crab right there. It's pretty bad, and that's one of 10 pieces that we got to pull up. So I just pulled up this piece of the ceiling down here, and check this out. Under the floor, look at these rags. They must have hammered into the chine there. It must have been leaking terribly. Rag jammed in there too. And this white stuff is actually a coral that grows on, like, if you find a crab pot float, it's been left out over the winter time or something like that, you'll get this white shell like coral. So this was either underwater for a long time or it's been leaking for years and years at least, I would think. These boards are not in great shape. I still want to cover it in glass and go crabbing out of it. That doesn't change my mind. I'm too dumb to be deterred by some major issue like that.
That might be it.
There ain't many. That was it. One holding it in. Ooh, sketchy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I thought I can clean this thing up without pulling floor up. Not like that. Look at that. That's incredible.
Careful, I might drop this on your head.
That's fine. I can tell which side their calling board was on. That's the Eastern Shore bilge right there. Roll farms, coffee lids, oyster shells, zip ties.
Got a steak knife handle.
And oh yeah, there you go. That's like the 3rd steak knife I've found. And more stainless hardware. Look at that. These things are like a couple bucks a screw nowadays. Oh, that's like a $4 screw right there. Wow, look at this. That is all a pile of stuff that grows under the water. Look, these mussels are attached to the boat.
That's crazy.
Look at that. These mussels were living in the bilge. They're grown into the inside of the boat. We are inside the boat right now. And these mussels are grown on the inside. That is crazy. There's literally an entire ecosystem living in this boat. I know we're finding lots of cool stuff. I'm gonna wait. We got the whole floor up, then I'll do a bilge-wide survey. All right, 3 used ones is just as good as 1 new one. Oh, there's metal in there. Oh, we're already halfway there. No point in stopping now. Just learn a good lesson in crabonomics. Sometimes there's no substitute for brute force. I like that fuel tank. I can see cutting it in half, making 2 tanks, and then having that on the gun on my boat as like a crab shedding tank. So we have the entire ceiling out of the boat. We're left with nothing but stringers and bilge. So we're gonna take a quick look. So we got all this stuff we went over. Come over here, more clam bags, just more stuff. There's a whole crab shell up under here. Look at that guy. Yeah, check this out. Here's the cabin. Look at all these shells in the bilge. That's crazy. We get all this piping, cut some of this bedding out, all these wires. We don't need any of this stuff anymore. Wobbly, not really even held in. I want to show you something, just how close this boat was to actual real disaster. Close to sinking. Okay, so this is a water tube for the raw water intake. Look at this. No hose clamp, nothing. It was just on there. If this would have popped off, this boat would have sank immediately. You'd have had a 1.5 inch hole pumping water into this thing. It was literally like one hard wave from sinking. Pretty much everybody that's owned this boat since its heyday has been like, nope, don't want to put that much money into that thing. I'm gonna sell it soon. They're like, well, that's the next guy's problem. Problem is I'm probably the last guy So I have all the problems. That ain't no thing. That's how life goes. I think the best course of action is just going to be to grab wires and hoses and start yanking until they're no longer there. Let that commence. Trucking away here in the bilge, I'm finding that this boat was doomed. The thing that's going to kill a wooden boat like this is all this mud that's been sitting in here for years and years and years. So the back of these wooden boards never get dry. They're literally so soft and squishy that when you try to scrape the mud off with the putty knife, the putty knife just sticks into the wood, and this thing's like not sharp whatsoever. This is the thing that kills wooden boats. That's the real cancer to this boat, unfortunately. With mud like this in the bilge, you're just rotting the thing from the inside out. Well, I've been vacuuming the water out of this boat, but I realized that that's a stupid thing to do. So I'm just gonna drill a hole in the bottom of the boat and let the water drain out. It may also be a stupid thing to do. Oh my God. Oh, I can hear it. I think it's working. Well, the boat's pretty much cleaned out here. Honestly, cleaning out the bilge was a way bigger job than I was expecting it to be, but it looks pretty stinking good. I don't even think I need to power wash it, to be honest with you. My plan's to remake most of these and probably drop this floor down to the chine here just to get it a little bit lower. And then I'm gonna run new floor joists, so it'll just be floor, bow to stern. Going after square footage here. This is interesting. You can see daylight through this board right here. There's even a draft. The growth on the bottom was definitely holding the boat together. Literally dangerous to be safe, because I can't see anything at all. This is a custom tool here. It's a square sanding pad. I'm sure you've never seen one, but it's an age-old boat building tool. Noah actually invented this when he was building the Ark. But this is so you can sand flat, because you literally can't dig the corner in because it's square. So the alternative is a round pad like this, which is great, but people, myself included, tend to dig the corner in. This is the solution. Allows you to sand everything on the same exact plane. In terms of danger and sketchiness, this is definitely an 11. Sanding sucks, but here's a reminder. Check out the link in the description. Dark Season, I've come out with some pretty cool shirts, and we got more coming for 2024. You can order them now. So there is a little piece of the boat missing. I would like to just fill it full of Bondo and cover it up, but I might actually try to put a piece of wood in here. Screw that. What'd you say?
It's like dentistry.
Yep. It's a little short on the bottom.
Putty and paint make her where she ain't.
Oh my gosh. This is a far more scary tool, so this should work quite nicely. Yeah, that thing's scary as hell.
Now, you got to go with something else now because you're going too deep.
It's the proper use of a hard pad.
I'm going to roll this top corner a little bit though. Beautiful.
Let's jam some stuff in the crack and she'll be good as used. It's called the motor bedding. This is what the engine lays on and attaches to the boat. But I actually think since I have to put new joists in here, it's going to be a lot easier if I don't have to work around this bedding.
Breaking the strong back out.
Yeah, I did just break them totally in half.
You gotta cut that bolt.
Couldn't get it to come through. Everything in this boat is crumbling into pieces. The stringers that went this way weren't even held in. They were just laying in there. I just picked them up and threw them out of the boat. Fasteners are gone. Oh, that's good. I successfully just caused myself some more work. There's like roots growing through this thing. It's so mulchy. Of course, there's a stuck bolt, like 2 of them that were stuck and rusted, so I had to cut the thing apart. The fact that I did all that without catching on fire was pleasing to me. Oh. Now we're left with just like the nastiest, greasiest bilge. Already went through this. Well, the boat's all sanded. We got it up out of the water. The outside sanded, the inside completely gutted, the whole hull cleaned, the bilge and everything. Now we got to start the rebuilding process. And this is the part that I really like. I mean, I don't have a total complete vision exactly for what's going to happen here, but I'm always kind of thinking about it and building models sort of like in my head. I'm not a big picture drawer or plan maker, and I just kind of wing it as I see it. It's a blank canvas, and I'm super excited to finally see this thing come back to life. You know, we kind of had to break it down to nothing to be able to build it back into something. Total Boat, I think, is gonna help me out with a lot of the paint and epoxy and everything like that. And don't forget to check out Dark Seas. Dark Seas and I are collaborating on an entire line of clothing coming summer of 2024. But we do have some awesome shirts. Check the link in the description and get yourself one of these shirts. I really appreciate the support, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that YouTuber crap. And we're gonna keep building on our 1975 Deltaville crab boat until it is a crab stand that I can sell crabs out of.